welcome to the Exchange Podcast. I am ChrisDoddBR. This is my co-host, James Uplifting Edwards from the Uplifting brand of podcasts, which is awesome and dope. So yeah, here we are, man. You ready to go?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's get it, man. Yeah, so with the exchange and stuff, what I want this to be is kind of like I've been kind of thinking about it. It's kind of like a home for the hustlers,
Yes, sir.
Although I'd like to say that I want this podcast to reach everybody and anybody, I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's for everybody. I think if you're not somebody who's not self-motivated, ambitious, striving for more, this might not be for you. But that being aside, I really want to create a nice environment where we kind of just pick each other's brains, shoot ideas and things back and forth. I've been grinding on the social media world, the digital industry for over a decade now, and I've made a lot of really cool connections and friendships and acquaintances, and I intend on utilizing all of those. I want to get some really cool guests on here. I want to just essentially have an exchange with them, just pick their brains, people that I identify as successful within their crafts, and just pick their brains, just, see what makes them tick, see what they did to get where they are, and the end goal is that we could all learn from it, which is cool. So I'm really excited, man. I'm really excited. Me and you have been kind of talking off camera a lot about this and kind of putting this project in motion. And I think it's going to be really fun. And I think it's going to be really beneficial for a lot of people. And that's where my true intentions are with this. So I'm really excited, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the opportunity to sit here and talk about the life that we used to live, the life that we used to live, and get the background perspective of people who are actually putting in the work, making a great life out of being a hustler. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's a huge part of it. And that's another thing too. Like, that's kind of what my original intention was with creating a podcast or this type of platform or this project, to kind of shed light on that. Was like, I think in this day and age, especially where we are now with social media and all that, I think it's just so easy to see the end goal. It's so easy to see the highlight. I mean, we're all a part of it. We're all guilty of it. We put our highlights on social media, and it's right. Especially for people that are successful and famous, if you want to call it, it's just so easy to see, them at the finish line, but nobody pays attention to the process that it takes to get there and the real hard work that goes into that, the sacrifice, the bloodshed, all that. And that's the stuff that I really want to dig into. And that's what I'm most excited about. People that we have on here, like, I want to hear about the times you were sleeping in your car eating bologna sandwiches for 3 months in a row so you could create an opportunity for yourself. That's what the exchange is about. That's what I want it to be about, because I think there's so much of that that's not in the forefront, in the highlight of everything, Yeah. And I'm excited to dig into it, So, and I think behind every successful hustler and everything like that, that's the beauty of it, is the actual hustle, not, the end of it. I'm a huge MMA fan. I'm a UFC fighter. I'm not a UFC fighter, UFC fan. Just to use this as an example, I was like, clear cut. Like, you see a fighter with their hands up, getting their hands raised, I won, you know what I mean? But they don't see everything that went into that, you know what I mean? And those 3 months that they were training their asses off, you were just living your normal life. But like, I want to dig into that. I want to see that, like, what goes into this, stuff like that. That's where I think people can really learn from and also relate to. And, it's be a place for people to kind of be like, oh, this is for me. You know what I mean? I can relate to this. I do this. So it'd be cool, man, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think getting background into anything is what we all enjoy, right?
Yeah.
Wiz Khalifa got big off of a day-to-day series, really. Like, that's how he built his fan base. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And that's huge these days too and stuff. And and it just even more, like, I think that's also like more popular these days too, is people want to see what goes into this, man. It's nothing's as easy as it looks. And that's for any craft, anything in life, obviously, of course, but us doing what we do is kind of like, that's what we relate to and all that stuff. So
I see you with the Black Roses hat, man. You never really,
buddy.
I had you on the podcast, and you gave me a little bit of background about yourself, but was there anything that you left out?
Yeah, man, so that's kind of like what I wanted to focus on today. So, for me, like, it's funny because I do kind of represent myself as like a social media guy, but honestly, like all the trends and stuff that pop up, I don't usually really like to, partake in those. I'm not really with that stuff. It's not me. But the ones that always do jump out to me are the kind of like the transition challenges, the ones that really show change. And the one recently that provoked me to start thinking about all this was like this 10-year challenge. And it sounds, cliche, it's what everybody's doing. But for me, it being 2022 is exactly 10 years from, probably the most significant impact in my life to this point, 2012. It was exactly 10 years. And I kind of really just, I partook in it. And I posted some images on my Instagram, and it just really got me diving in and thinking about like where I came from and where I am now. Between that and I've been doing a lot of reading lately, and I went through this really cool exercise in this book where it kind of just had me really look at myself from another light, right? And identify what's unique about me and what's unique to my story, because we all have our own things that are unique to us and stuff.
Right.
And it helped me identify the most impactful situation in my life, and I like to call that kind of like self-realization, right? Yeah, and that's kind of where it dove around for me, which was cool. And but no, I know when we spoke on other podcasts and stuff like that, I lightly touched on it and stuff like that. But like I was involved in a situation where I unfortunately was arrested in 2012, and when I played out this 10-year challenge, I look where I'm at now, and where I identify as being successful and happy is I have a beautiful family that that we're with each other every day and stuff like that. And I use this image, and it was kind of like, I started thinking to myself, like, how did I get from there to here, right? 2012, right. I posted this image of me walking out of jail with a suitcase, which I was living out of too, by the way. That was it. That's what I had. That's it. It was just me and my suitcase walking out of jail. Fast forward 2022, there's an image of me and my family. We're all smiling. We're happy. We're looking ahead. Everything's looking great. That's how I feel. And I really, really dove into like, how did I get there? Right. How did I go from here to there? And the biggest thing that I can identify was this mental process of self-realization. And to me, what that means to me is just fully taking responsibility for myself and my actions and how I can control everything that happens in my life. It was probably the most powerful and most impactful thing that I personally ever went through at that time in my life. And again, if you're somebody that's already in that mindset, then this story isn't for you. But for a lot of people that might be able to relate, exactly, this is who I'm speaking to,
right?
And that process was so important for me, and it was slow, it was painful, and it was really some parts of this were, they're just kind of gut-wrenching, and it really, you end up kind of looking at yourself and you don't feel so great about yourself at certain points. But the positive part of it that I took from it was, again, the positive aspect of it, right? Like being more specific, like I said, like I went through this mindset shift of like, where I'm at right now is absolutely nobody's fault but mine. You start to really analyze everything you've done in your life to that point, all the decisions you've made, the choices you've made, the situations you put yourself in. And once you take absolute responsibility for that, it's a tough pill to swallow, right? When you realize that you put yourself there.
Yeah.
But the most powerful thing out of it, and the positive thing you can take away from it, is that you also enable yourself to control the fact that you can get yourself out of that situation. So you take responsibility for the negative things that have happened in your life, but it's a powerful thing once you can realize that, okay, I can also take control of the positive things that are going to happen in my life from here on out. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and I think you can relate to this too. It's kind of like when you've dug yourself a hole and you realize you put yourself there, it's very powerful to realize that you're also going to be able to get yourself out. And it's just a moment. It was a huge moment of clarity for me, like to realize that, like, okay, I put myself here. That means I could get myself out.
Right.
And those were the positive things I took away from it. And it's the mindset I have to this day. And I use that in my everyday life. Even now, it's just kind of like, you really analyze the situations that you get yourself into and things like that. And just even in your everyday life at work and stuff, the amount of respect you have for yourself and, shines outward. So,
yeah, man, it's crazy how moments of isolation can allow you to really peek into yourself. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Evaluate what actually went down, whose fault it really was, and who can actually make the changes that are necessary for you to go forward or stay where you're at. You know what I mean? So
100%.
Getting in touch with yourself, just having that alone time is crazy, man, because it happens, when you unfortunately, if you are in a cell, you get a lot of time to yourself. You know what I mean?
You really do. You do. You absolutely do.
And that introspective time, you really get to look at Like, where the hell am I doing? Where am I going with this? You know, how am I going to make this better? So I definitely can agree, man.
Absolutely. And like, even just, yeah, if you like, even just like legitimately speaking, absolutely, like being in a cell, being in jail, of course, like it's crazy because like I like I hate to say it like this, but I feel like everybody at some point in their life, and I'm not going to phrase it exactly like should go to jail,
Right,
but
right,
should at
right.
least, because jail is terrible. All right.
Right.
Let me not, I don't want to put that out there at all, but everybody should have that sort of experience in their life where they're left with nothing but themselves. It is the most, I'm so thankful for it.
Right.
In my personal life, it's just the most rewarding experience when you're just stripped of everything besides yourself and you have nothing to do but stare in the mirror and really just, it's the most truest experience you can ever go through.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like you said, man, I remember 2015, bro. Got evicted, was sleeping in my car.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time I had gotten in some traffic trouble and I had a bunch of traffic trouble.
Yeah.
So they were trying to give me weekends in jail.
Yeah.
And just the fact of having to spend that time in jail, no job, no place to live, and my car, right? I'm living out of my car, and my car is about to get repossessed.
Yeah.
So not only do I not have a roof over my head, but I don't have, I have to duck the police and I have to duck the people who are trying to get my car from me, my only place of residence right now. So I know what you mean, man. That coming back from those type of situations is it seems like forever, but being able to have a bottom, right? Like that you can only go up. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what you're alluding to by people shouldn't spend time in jail, but they should have a time in their life where they have that moment of clarity, like I can only go up from here and I got to put in the work to get there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I took another example, that I've taken notice of is as I mentioned earlier, like I'm a huge UFC fan, and one of my favorite fighters, Jorge Masvidal, he alludes to this time, and I've been following his career forever, and he was kind of always just, he was there, he was doing his thing, but out of nowhere, this guy just exploded. And not only with his performances, but he started getting a lot of recognition. He became a superstar.
Right.
And what he identified as that thing that drove that change for him was he actually partook in this, like, I think it was like some sort of like reality TV show, but it doesn't even matter. But the point was he went to this remote island, no cell phone, no nothing from the outside world that we're all addicted to, or our phones, our materials, all this stuff. It was nothing but him, the clothes on his back, the sand, and then this little thing. And he was isolated. And he said that it was just the most powerful experience that he had up until that point in his life, where he was just left with nothing but him. And he was able to analyze where he was, and it just created this whole energy in him. Like, he was like, as soon as this is over, I know exactly what I have to do. And I think for a lot of us, especially stuck in the grind and the hustle, like I said, we're all sucked into our phones all the time. Like, just taking a break and just, really reflecting inward and outward is just, it's powerful, and it helps you propel forward in the way you need to go. So, or it might be, you might be able to, I've even had one of these, business wise, I've had one of these moments lately too, where you kind of realize, like, you just kind of stop and take a breather and realize, like, all right, this isn't working. I'm actually going to take a step backwards, instead of, so you can use it as to not just take a step forwards, but sometimes you're like, all right, this isn't working. I got to strip all this off my plate and start over. And it's a powerful feeling for sure.
Yeah, man. I can't really imagine where I would be if I didn't have some of the, I don't want to say it, but traumatic life experiences where
absolutely
they kind of led me into a space of, like, taking a moment of reflection, looking at what's going on around me and figuring out how I'm going to navigate the world now, like those resets are important. You know what I mean?
Super important. Yeah, I agree fully. And like, when I talk about my situation, like I know we were speaking a little bit earlier, and like I said, it sounds crazy, but I'm so thankful for it. Like for me personally, it's what I needed, you know what I mean? And I think there's other people that can relate. And, fortunately, most people, don't need to go through things like that. But for me, I needed to. And it was the best sound. Like, again, I hate to say it like this, but it was the best experience for my life at that time that I needed. And it really helped put me where I am today. And just like you said, I couldn't imagine where I'd be if I didn't go through some of the things that I went through. And that's really what molded me to who I am today. And I also feel it gives me such a feeling of like self-confidence. I feel bulletproof. I don't feel invincible. I'm not ignorant. I'm not hard-headed because I know how to move, but it's like I just feel so confident, so bulletproof that like, man, I just thinking about where I've been and how like you said, like you alluded to, when you hit rock bottom, man, and people hear that phrase all the time, but you don't know what rock bottom is until you're there. And when you're there and you feel it,
it's
different. It's different. It's different. And you might not even be able to identify it when you're going through it, such as like me. Like I remember when I hit rock bottom, it was just the most vulnerable time in my life. I was panicking, man. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I want. I didn't any of that. But when you climb up from that, you realize that's the lowest I've ever been. And that's you're never gonna, that like it like you said, it only goes up from there.
Yeah, bro. But even moments like that allow you to understand that you don't have to worry about a loss, or something simple that you wanted to happen that didn't happen. It's like, bro, I know what losing feels like, like I battled back from so much, dog. Like this is nothing. Yes. I'm not stressing this. I'm not worrying about this.
I know.
I love the way you put that. Yeah. It's an energizing feeling. Like I can, really like you said, you feel invincible because you like, dog, I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
I know what the bottom feels like. I'm not going back there. There's no way for me to do that.
And that's what I was trying to allude to earlier. Not that I suggest anybody should go to jail, but like, or whatever. And if you are somebody that made it through life and you don't have to hit rock bottom, you don't need to lose things, then God bless you. But like for those of us who do, like you said, when you feel that feeling and you don't want to go back, man. You don't want to go back there. So it just gives you this fire under you that you're like, I can't do that. And it's funny when you talk about losing. I love the way you put that, because it's like, when my situation happened in 2012, I had so much, looking back, this is the mindset I had so much going for me at the time. I felt like I lost everything.
Yeah.
I had a real good fiery start to a entertainment career in LA. I was at auditions every day. I was getting some acting gigs here and there. I was starting to get some momentum building, and I really started to build a life for myself out there. And I lost it all when I got in my situation. I lost it all. I couldn't go back to LA. I had to leave it all behind. And at that moment, I thought I lost everything. Yeah. I thought this is it. That was my only chance. But in reality, that was just such a blessing in disguise, because everything that came after that was what I was really meant to do. You know what I mean? Like everything that I left behind, I thought I lost everything. I gained everything. I gained clarity. I realized what wasn't for me. It was such a powerful experience, like I said, too. You know what I mean?
Situations come into play to take you away from things that aren't meant for you. And in those moments, you're not really able to see that. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. Because,
like you said, you're like, damn, I got all this going for me right now, but you don't know where that would have led. And you can't always say that. You can't say for sure that it's always going to be a better situation, but things happen for a reason. I truly believe that, man.
Me too.
And it also gives you a level of appreciation, because what if you got what you were getting at that time and you didn't appreciate it and lost it all and didn't know how to deal with it? And maybe your life really would have been in shambles at that point. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%, 100%. And just to go off exactly what you said, like I said, when I was thinking that I lost everything, and some of the things I gained was like, man, what that taught me, and the hustle it put under me, and the work ethic it put under me, it was just this, I couldn't stand, like, I could not come face to face with the fact that, like, if that's it, and that's how I lost everything, I can't deal with that. I cannot accept that. Like, there's no way I'm going to go out like that.
Right.
No way and because ultimately, like I said, through this process of self-realization, taking responsibility, the fact that I wholeheartedly knew I put myself in that situation, I was like, there's no way that's the best me. I'm not letting me go out like that because of me. There's no way. So it just put this unstoppable fire inside me where I just felt like I had to keep grinding to get it back, get it back. And then I realized I didn't need that back. I needed something new. Like it just put this fire under me that it was like this unstoppable fire that I still have now that I can't even explain. And people like us entrepreneurs, us hustlers, those people striving for more, you can't even explain it. But when you wake up, you just know it's just like, I need it. I can't explain it to anybody if they don't have that sort of drive and sort of passion. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, I think other people can identify it, right? That's why me and you are sitting here talking to each other, right? We're from traditional, different type of backgrounds. We're not even from the same state. We come from different walks of life, but me and you clicked, man. And that's why even from the first conversation me and you ever had before we ever even started recording any type of podcast, that was, I knew that instantly. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So
it's just such an effortless exchange between us because we see eye to eye on we see eye to eye on most things just because we know what not having feels like, but we also know what getting after it feels like. Like we said, this is for the hustlers. This isn't for the people who think it's cool to be an entrepreneur. If you really knew what it was like to run your own stuff, a lot of people wouldn't even put their toe in this water. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't understand that it's a lot that comes with it when you win. But man, it's a lot of losses alone, and not losses, but just pitfalls and stops and gaps in between your success that people don't understand. Like, you don't know what you don't know sometimes until you run into it. And then when you run into it, you got to deal with it. Lawyer situations. Oh yeah. We didn't even, like, that's the stuff that people don't really understand is there's more background litigation and politics in this getting to where you're trying to get to, because it looks glamorous on the forefront, but I mean, you could say the wrong thing and things could go a certain way, Absolutely. And in business, people are way more ruthless.
Oof, my God, I know, man. And that brings me to I think of a situation. I had somebody who's a bit of a mentor to me. And I used to work for the guy a long time ago when he started his business, and same situation, man. In business, he just happened to be on the wrong phone call, and boom, 2 years in prison. You know what I mean? And it's just like exactly like you said, stuff happens. You know what I mean? And so going through situations like I've been through, it gives me also the clarity to be like, I need to move how I move. I need to move how like I even had, I think I told you this off camera. Like, I had a situation. I got offered I got offered a good bag to promote something on my social media. And for me, just thinking about the way it sounded, I'm like, man, this just doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? So I'm able to determine, like, I don't, you know what, the potential negative aspect of this is probably outweighs the good. So I'm gonna turn this down because I don't want to get caught in any type of situation like I've been in before. And I even thought to myself, like, if I never went through what I went through, I would have took this in a heartbeat, and who knows where I'd be right now. You know what I mean? But it's just crazy. You said that too. You talk about the ups and downs. It's funny. Like, even in the life, even where I'm at now, like even the past week, it's great. I wake up one day and I'm feeling like I'm on top of the world. I'm like, this is amazing. Everything's going great. The next day I'm like, man, I want to quit. I'm selling all this stuff. I'm getting rid of all this. I'm going to go get a job. And I'm done, man. I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore. You know what I mean? So
man.
It's the ups and downs, man, that come with when you're chasing it for yourself, man. And when you, again, take responsibility for the fact that, like, I'm the one that's got to get it. I got to put the food on the table. I got to do this. It's the ups and downs, man.
Especially being in a space now where you have to be on social media, right? Even if you sell real estate or you selling socks or whatever it is, you have to be here. And then let's say you were, like you talked about, working with a brand. How is this brand going to use this video? How long do they get to use that? How much, how can they use it? Where do they use it at? Like, those things could get you in trouble. If you're on a billboard somewhere and somebody see that, now you associate it with something that could drive your business into the ground, especially in today's day and age where, the cancel culture, all that other stuff, like, you partake in the wrong thing, and it doesn't matter whether your intentions were pure or not, you could just get dragged through the mud and it's over. That's what we're talking about, is true hustlers know how to pivot. You know what I mean?
Pivot. Yeah, I love that. I love that, man. Pivot. Yeah.
They know how to sidestep or move and navigate in the crazy situations that come with you being the business, right? Mm-hmm. Like if your job, when you work for somebody and you do something wrong, they get the blame.
Absolutely.
You it now.
Yeah, that's it.
When you're a real hustler, when you're a real entrepreneur, when you're a real intellectual property type of person, like these UFC fighters, if they do something, it's on them. Yeah, it's not on the team. It's not on the coach. It's not on Dana. You know, maybe Dana might get in trouble, but most of the time, like, you still got to eat that, bro. You know?
Yeah. And I think that's also, I love the way you put that. And like in any type of thing like that, I think it's super important for people to understand that they have to accept responsibility for themselves at an early point. Cause I think it's just, especially in businesses like that and industries like that and entertainment, it's so easy to get taken advantage of and get walked through something when you don't know anything about something. So I think it's so much more important to do your homework and do your research, man. That's why people come to podcasts. That's why we're talking right now and things like that. You know, any type of business venture I get in now, I try and do as much research as possible before I get into it. You know, Google, YouTube, all that other stuff, reach out to people in the industry and just get as much advice as I can, absorb as much knowledge as I can before I jump into it. Cause it's super important, because you can get walked right into something that you don't know about. And next thing you know, you're on your ass and you're getting sued or this and that. Right. So yeah, I like the way you said that. And I also love the word you used, pivot. That's something that's been huge in my life recently too, is when I was, again, looking back through these past 10 years and stuff like that. And I love the word that you used, pivot. I kind of identified that that's kind of what I did, because I've tried different things in my life up to this point, man. I've tried acting, modeling, music, business, all that stuff. And some of those things I did for a few years or whatever, but I never quit them. Like I love, I want to look at it like that. I never quit. Like when I stopped making music, I didn't quit making music. I pivoted. Right. I took that same energy I was using to make music onto my next venture. So it's like, I don't look at things like that as like, oh, I gave up, I quit. No, I pivoted. Right. And that's what I'm realizing too. People in the space that I look up to, that's what a lot of successful people have done, is they've known when to pivot. It's not that, oh, this isn't working, I'm going to quit, I'm going to give up, I don't like this anymore. It's just when to pivot. You need to know when to pivot onto the next venture and take all your all your resources and move on to the next thing, you know?
Yeah. The law of intuition, man. You got to have some foresight, you know? Mm-hmm. And when you doing things for yourself, you also got to understand what you're strong in.
Yes.
You know, like, dog, if I'm winning over here on podcasting and I want to play basketball, but I can't even get a tryout, nobody wants me overseas, stop playing basketball, bro. Like, stop trying to do it professionally. I'm not saying, you know, give up on hooping, but dog, you are winning here. You're naturally gifted here. Some people don't want to hear what they're naturally good at. Just like we said, this is for the hustlers. We giving background information on how hard and how resilient you have to be in this space. This is real. You gotta work. You gotta wake up like this. You gotta live this. This is a lifestyle. This ain't something that you just say, oh, I want to do this. And you may not be good at it. So you also got to know, like we said, when to get out.
Yeah. And I also think it's important to find that out for yourself, for sure. Like, you know what I mean? To explore that and, you know, see what you can do with it. But I like that you brought that up, because I was thinking about that the other day. It's kind of like, we live in a day and age where you could be remotely, even minutely good at something, and you've got people telling you, man, you should do this, you should be a professional at that. And it's like, that's not necessarily true. And I don't mean that from a point of trying to discourage anybody from trying different things or really exploring for themselves. But like, even me, man, I remember when I was younger, when I was like 19, I started going to this gym, and I was just dedicated in the gym, and I was eating right, I was showing up, I was lifting, and I started getting some pretty good results. And one of the people that worked there was like, hey, I see you've been training your butt off and stuff like that. Like, I want you to be a personal trainer here. And I'm like, no, like, you know what I mean? It's like, listen, I can train. Like, I gave it a try. I did.
Right.
But, you know, long story short, I was able to identify, like, just because you're somewhat good at something doesn't mean that you should be a professional. And I'm like, I'm good at training myself. I'm not good at training other people. And it's not that I didn't try or don't think I have the ability to learn how to do that, but I don't want to. And it's not what I want to do. You know, I think was, again, not to cut you off, but with social media too, it's so easy to be like, somebody's like, well, I'm somewhat good at this, I'm going to start this, I'm going to be a business at this, I'm going to start, like, I'm good at cutting hair, so I want to be a cosmetologist. But they don't even think to like put the work in and realize that most of these girls went to school and got degrees and all this stuff, and they're like,
bro.
I don't, then it starts to be, I don't know,
Right. Malcolm Gladwell talks about I think it's Malcolm Gladwell. He talks about 10,000 hours.
Yes.
Right.
I love that. The
10,000 hour rule to be, a professional at something. I can't remember the name of the book, but you can't, you've been a hustler for how long?
As long, I like that you said that, but like, honestly, as long as I can remember, as far as once I decided that I wanted something, I want to say, I don't know, 12 years maybe.
Right. So you've been hustling for 12 years. People think that they can just get in the game year one and knock it out. Those are not normal things that happen, right? Like, nobody, even in hooping, everybody's not LeBron James, bro. And even he works harder than the people beneath him. Everybody's not Steph Curry. Steph Curry went to Davidson.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the amount of time and hours that real people, real hustlers put into their craft is tried and true, bro. You can't just hop in this and say that's what you do if you ain't got no rep bagging it. And it's a lot easier nowadays with social media. Shoot, let's even talk about podcasts. Like, it's a lot of dudes that be coming on here giving relationship advice. Ain't never had a long relationship.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And they make it look bad for guys like us who talking about shit we know.
Yeah, absolutely.
We know this. We do this. 100%. These dudes ain't even dating. And they talking about what a woman brings to the table and what she should do. Like, dog, you got to live it to talk it. What happened 100%. To that?
And that's why I've always been kind of like, I think there's so much power, like, in just saying, I don't know. Like, hey, I'm not qualified for this. I don't know. And like, why can't people do that these days? I don't know why. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's just like, 100%. I agree with you. You know what I mean? And that's why I've always like, like you said, I was just having a conversation with my fiance the other day. I was talking about a specific business thing. And I think, again, another really powerful thing that I went through was being able to identify what my strong suit is within this business. Like, I'll use this for an example, like a certain business venture I had. I'm like, I know where I know my strong suit in this business. I know what I'm really good at. And I know what I can consistently put on the table. And that also helps me identify the areas that I'm not good at, that I'm kind of weak at, and that I'm going to need to bring on some help for. Right. And she's kind of like, why can't you just, do this part yourself? I'm like, listen, you don't understand.
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I'm like, I've been doing this for a few years now. I know what I'm good at. And as long as I just put all my energy and passion into that, and I get some people to help me out with these other areas, now I got the full package. It's that simple.
But that's that's what real entrepreneurship is identifying areas that you're weak and getting people who specialize to help you grow.
Absolutely.
Is how that's really how you grow exponentially. That's when you see a lot of people take off and they get awards or accolades, and they always talk about their team, it's because they got a publisher, or they got somebody who was good at PR, or they got somebody who was even good at social media.
Yeah, man.
If that's what real hustlers understand. Like, it's not just me. It's never just you. You may be the talent, you may have the vision, and that's powerful. You keep building on what, like you said, what you're strong at. I know what I'm strong at, and I'm going to keep getting stronger at that. And the stuff that I'm weak at, I'm going to bring in people to help this explode.
Absolutely. That's exactly, you put it perfectly. And that's exactly what like I said, I was able to identify for myself. It's kind of like, look, and also too, us being hustlers and entrepreneurs and having such an ambitious attitude. Like, I always had that mindset of like, I don't care what it is. I can take the time and I can learn how to do it. But you also got to know yourself, and certain things just don't click for me. You know what I mean? Certain things, I'm just not, I don't have the patience for certain areas to do things. Like, it's just that simple. I'm a real fast wired dude. I got ADHD, all that stuff. I'm hyperactive. I'm like, I don't want to sit down and really dive into the logistics of a certain thing because it's just so boring to me. It's so boring to me and it's not fun. Like, as a having a creative mind and something, like you said, when I have a vision for something, that's all I want to focus on is the vision. I have no problem with bringing somebody on who is good at that, because that's his vision. This guy's good at this aspect of my business that I know nothing about. So I want to bring him on because he could put all his energy into that while I focus all my energy into this. And then now we've got a perfect simulation there.
Sometimes figuring out what the solution is to the problem is more enjoyable than actually putting the work in to resolve the problem.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And not to say that you don't want to put the work in, but it's just that's boring, bro. Like I was excited. I was elated to figure out how we could solve this. And now I got people who specialize in that boring stuff to figure this out.
And not even to mention, but like once you do get to a point in a business or a venture or in your brand where you're gonna get to the point where you don't have time to operate every single part of the wheel.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You don't have time. Like I brought this up. It's funny. Like I'll use this dead honest example. Like I was talking to my fiance and she's a dental hygienist, right?
Yeah.
And the way I brought it up to her, I'm like, imagine if you showed up to work and they said, hey, by the way, today you gotta ring the customers in and cash them out. You got to do all the paperwork that your boss is doing. And you got to make sure that you're doing all the teeth cleaning too. I'm like, how would you feel?
Yeah.
That's it. I got my answer I needed.
Yeah,
like,
bro.
That's how it goes. Sometimes that's
Perfect.
just how it goes. You know what I mean? And I also think it's important to have experience in every little element of your business. But that's like, especially if you're starting a business, and when you started the business, you
wore every hat.
You wore every hat. Wore every hat. So I think that's even more powerful because that's how you identify. I'm not so good at this part, not so good at that part, but I'm really, really good at this part. And I think also too, for us hustlers, it kind of hits our ego a little bit. No, don't tell me I can't do that. But once you come down to that level where you realize, okay, I can't do everything, then that's powerful in itself.
Yeah, bro. It's just it's just math, dog. Like
it is.
You can only give 100% of you, but if you can get 80% of somebody over here, 80% of somebody over here, 90% of somebody over here, those numbers are more than your 100%. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah.
It's just the name of the game. And if you don't respect that, you don't respect the game. And that's what we also got to talk about too. Like you got to respect the hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people are coming into this and not respecting just the pure principles of it, not the people who are in it, but just the principles of hustling. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think also too, being a hustler, right? I think also a good thing, like the mindset I've always had is I do not know the word no. I don't take no for an answer.
Right.
Oh, it can't happen. This can't happen. No matter what, even at the busiest time of my life, where my schedule is like this, and that. Well, we might not have time to do that today because you got to do this, you got to do that. The sun rises at 3 a.m.
Right.
Don't tell me I don't have time. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get up. There's times I would get up at 4:30 in the morning just to make something happen, so that and I would have till midnight that night. But either way, I'm making it happen.
Right.
So
yeah, man, you got to figure out how to make things shake in tight spaces.
Absolutely.
You just got to make things work. And if it requires you to get up earlier, like you said, or requires you to stay up later, if the date is the date, if it's going to happen today, it's going to happen today. Why are we saving it for tomorrow? I always say that.
And especially when you're responsible for the outcome, when you accept full responsibility for, okay, like my brand, my business, whether it's doing good or it's doing bad, it's my responsibility. And when you accept that, that's where you can start to make these decisions of like, well, I'm gonna have to make some time here to do this. I'm gonna have to make some time to do that. You know what I mean? So I think that's huge in itself too. Like I said, not, when you're in your business, your brand, and, instead of looking at something like, well, I can't do that. No, you got to find a different way to make it happen. And if that means going the extra mile or the extra 100 miles, that's what you got to do. It's that simple.
But you talked about being a artist, music wise, and I see that with a lot of artists too, man. You have, I don't want to say any name specific, but you have a lot of artists talking about wanting to get their masters and stuff back. Right.
And
it's like, you act as if you put in all the work to get you to where you are at, right? Like, you get with a label, and the label has to do some work for you.
A lot of work.
Even DaBaby, for instance, he said this, that because he was killing it independently, but when he went to a label, he was able to touch the world, touch the world in a crazy way. He was crazy in the United States, but it's like, dog, you touching the west, you went to the West Coast now from the East Coast, South, you all over the world. Everybody plays you everywhere. You're with major pop artists. The labels work out those relationships for you.
Absolutely. And like the music industry has always been fascinating from that aspect of it too, the business side of it too. And I completely agree with you. And I keep bringing it up too, because like I said, I'm such a big UFC fan right now, but like there's certain fighters that you see how well they're doing with, in their careers, and you really credit it to the fact that they're aware that, like, look, I'm doing the fighting, but this platform here, the UFC, is giving me this platform. So how can I capitalize off that? How can I monetize this new audience I got? And somebody that I've paid attention to is like Sugar Sean O'Malley. He does that, right? Like, he shows up and fights, but what the UFC gives him is that extra exposure, that platform. So he capitalizes on that. He's doing all these other things, and he's fully aware of it. He's let people know, like, yeah, I'm killing it on Twitch. I'm killing it in merch. I'm killing it on YouTube and podcasting. But you know what? I wouldn't have any of that if it weren't for the UFC. So I'll take a lower paycheck from the UFC because I'm able to get all this other money from these other avenues. And that's, as somebody who's in the spotlight and stuff like that, that's super important to take into consideration as well. And that's something that I screwed up myself when I was making music and when I was doing all that. Like, when my social media platforms were at the highest of the heights, I failed to realize those things, that I'm in control of this and I'm actually the one who has to implement these things. And so I was able to learn from my mistakes, you know what I mean? Because I have gone through that, where I built audiences up and I failed to monetize them. I failed to acknowledge them. I failed to move the right way. And I had nobody to identify that but myself, and just, paying attention to other people in the space and realizing that, like, it's a tough, like I said, it's a tough pill to swallow when you realize I am ultimately responsible for everything. And I see a lot of people, like, even now, well, I didn't have anybody advising me. I screwed up because this person didn't do this for me. And that's just it's a bad mindset to be in. It's a toxic mindset to be in. I have friends in my personal life that everything that goes wrong in their life, it's somebody else's fault. And it's just the worst thing. You got to get away from that. And that's exactly what I talked about, the whole self-realization thing. When you really break it down and you accept responsibility for every choice and every decision you make in your life, the positive aspect of that is you can take control of the good things that are going to happen in your life, and you can make them happen. You can create those opportunities for yourself instead of sitting around waiting for an opportunity. I'm a music artist, I'm gonna keep putting music out till someone notices me. No, make them notice you. Create that window. You got to create that opportunity. You're not waiting for somebody to pick up after you, because guess what? If you're waiting for somebody to come notice you, they ain't never fucking coming. They ain't never coming. And that's something I've realized too, is like, I'm not waiting for an opportunity. I'm going to create that opportunity. I'm going to grind to put myself in that situation so that when I do perhaps maybe have a chance of an opportunity, I'll make sure that I put myself there and I'm ready for it. Behind it's talking about music specifically, behind every one hit wonder, people, oh man, they got lucky. That song blew up. No, you know how many behind every one hit wonder is 1,000 flops. 1,000 flops. They put out song after song after song after song until one caught on. And the best part about that, this is why I always advise people too, when it comes to making content, right? You could put out 1,000 pieces of content. All it takes is that 1,001 to pop, and then they start back looking at all your other content, and you're like, oh man, and then you can put it all together, and then now, boom, there you are. And that's why I hate the word overnight success and all that stuff, because that's not what it is. Behind every overnight success is 20 years of grinding at something. You know what I mean? And I love it, man. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I want to talk to these people that pop quick. And it's like, no, you don't realize they were grinding before that, except maybe a few like random exceptions where somebody went viral or something for some type of piece of content they put online. But the worst part about that is they weren't prepared for it. So they don't have the work ethic, the hustle, the smarts or anything put into it, because it just happened overnight and they don't know how to capitalize off that. You know what I mean? That's a tough situation to be in. So you always got to be on your toes and stuff like that, in my opinion,
Yeah, man. Self-awareness is key, And when the problems come, everything's outward. And when the success come, everything is inward, man.
Right. So, I did this, I did it. Yeah. I love that. I love the way you put that. That's so
mean?
Yeah. For sure. But exactly like I said, that's just kind of how I wrap that all up, is calling that self-realization, just taking responsibility for every negative and positive element in your life. It's just a powerful thing, and I'm so thankful to have gone through that. Things like you kind of phrased, like being at rock bottom, is really helps you realize that. And I implement that mindset shift in every aspect of my life, in my business, in my influencer brand, and everything that I do is kind of like, just being self-aware and just taking responsibility. Everything is just super powerful, and it helps you. So yeah, for sure.
Yes, sir.
What you think? You think that's about it?
I think that's it, man. Unless you wanna, we could clip this up, but you have any catchphrases or anything you want to add to the end of this about the exchange? Or
yeah, like I said, so again, the exchange podcast is created for the hustlers, man. This is a home for the hustlers. If you're a hustler and you're striving for more, this is something you can relate to. This is we're here for you. You know what I mean? And again, I want all the guests that I plan on getting on here, I want to pick their brains and what help them get reach success within their craft, and that's what we want to capitalize on. We want to shed light on the situations that led them to be where they are. So, all right, so that's it for today. Again, man, thanks everybody for tuning into the exchange. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, join up on Spotify, all that, and stay tuned for our next episodes. Appreciate everybody tuning in, man. Again, this is a home for the hustlers. If you're somebody striving for more, we got you. We're here for you. If you're somebody who's ambitious, self-driven, self-motivated, we got you. We're here. This is your new space for yourself. Let's go.
Let's go.